Todd is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer at Nordic Nickel.
Thanks, Daniel. Great introduction, and thank you, Paydirt, for putting on another fantastic conference. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're the only company with nickel in the name, which I'm not going to apologise for in Western Australia. But we do have a unique value proposition, which I hope in the next 15 minutes or so I can convince you is a good idea and a good strategy that we're focused on. That's a photo of our drill rig in operation. I think it was in March last year. We're in the central Lapland greenstone belt of northern Finland. Beautiful part of the world. Gets a fair bit of snow, gets pretty cold. I think this week it's minus 15 today there. But, you know, it's minus 35, I think it was when we took that photo. So it does get a little chilly, but fantastic place to operate. So Nordic Nickel, we are relatively new. We listed in June 22, so coming up to 2 years now. We floated the company on the back of our flagship project, the Paydirt project. As Daniel mentioned, I have a background in banking. I was previously working for BNP Paribas and saw a lot of the discussion happening around the energy transition. And what was really missing, though, was joining the dots between the gigafactories that are being built, the energy transition happening in particular in Europe, and where all the raw material supply is going to come from. When I first started looking at the Paydirt project, you know, I took a look at all the work that had been done previously. It had been explored quite extensively by Outokumpu back in the 80s and 90s. And there was a lot of work that already existed on the project, and you know, decided after doing my own due diligence it was a fantastic project. If everything came together, it would be one I would certainly be willing to bank. So we kicked off, as I said, in June 22. What we have is a district-scale nickel copper precinct in the central Lapland greenstone belt, the Paydirt project being our flagship project. We have both near-surface disseminated nickel mineralisation as well as copper and cobalt within that, and we also have the main strategy is targeting the high-grade nickel mineralisation in that area. We, from the original drilling that had been done by Outokumpu, released a maiden resource 6 weeks after listing. After doing 15,000 metres of drilling last year, we were able to update that resource last month, and we tripled the size of that resource. So we now have 418 million tonnes of contained nickel. That would be nice. 418 million tonnes containing 862,000 tonnes of nickel, 40,000 tonnes of cobalt and 22,000 tonnes of copper. That is on just 5 square kilometres of our 240 square kilometre land package. So we're just scratching the surface and just getting started. Geophysics has been critical in identifying the opportunities and targeting the higher grade zones. And we've got an extensive geophysics program that's been conducted over our main licence area, but also over the belt. We have a plan this year for extending our targeting to the north of the project, which I'll get into in a minute. And we were delighted to be selected by BHP in the inaugural BHP Explore program last year. So we were one of 7 companies. There was over 300 that applied for the 2023 program. That gave us a real confidence boost. We think it's a great project, but BHP had done their due diligence on it and also agreed. They gave us $500,000 US as a grant, and there's now a select group of companies from that cohort that are discussing future earning agreements with BHP, and we're very thankful that we're part of that process. So why are we focused, and what's our strategy in terms of Europe? Well, you know, Europe is really about critical minerals at a critical time. The fundamentals haven't changed. While we've seen a downturn in the market, and certainly a downturn in sentiment, mostly at the moment, the fundamentals in Europe haven't changed. You know, we see the demand for Class 1 nickel set to certainly well and truly outstrip demand. And while we have a lot of supply coming on the market from Indonesia, we're going to need all of that Indonesian nickel. We're going to need all the sulfides that have been put into care and maintenance and still operating, and we're going to need a lot more. And at the moment, there are only 2 nickel mines in Europe. That's it, and they're both in Finland, and we have a strategy to become the next one. Europe is looking to secure supply. Obviously, like we've heard over the last few days, you know, there's a big push from governments around the world to look at securing supply outside of China. and Europe is very much pushing for that. The Critical Minerals Act, which has just been enacted, is really going to drive that investment. Finland in itself is incentivising investment in its country, and there's 11 operating mines in Finland. As I said, 2 operating nickel mines in the whole of Europe, and they're both in Finland, and they certainly have a long mining history as well. The Central Lapland Greenstone Belt, where we're operating right in the north, is highly prospective for Class 1 nickel, but also for copper and PGEs. There's a couple of discoveries there that I can talk about in a minute. Overall, Nordic Nickel has a very large land package, a total of 515 square kilometres. Our flagship project is 240 square kilometres at the Pulu project. So the energy transition in Europe, we hear a lot about the Inflation Reduction Act in the US. Well, the Critical Minerals Act in Europe is their answer to that. It had been discussed for a long time. It's now in place. What it's going to require is overall there'll be 10% of all raw materials that are being consumed in Europe have to be produced from Europe or sourced from Europe. At the moment, there's less than 3% that are being sourced from mines in Europe. 40% will have to be processed in Europe, and 15% will need to be recycled in Europe. That's going to lead to massive investments coming. There's already now 3 European investment critical minerals funds that have been established. An Irish one was announced earlier on this week. French government are probably leading the way with the Infravia Critical Minerals Fund, which was established late last year. They're looking to close that out at the end of this year with over €1 billion as the size of the fund. But it's all going to lead to massive demand for critical minerals, and we think we're very well positioned to play a part in that strategy. So where we're operating in the Central Lapland Greenstone Belt in Finland, we're surrounded by gigafactories that are going in. Overall, Europe's looking to try and become a major hub for battery manufacturing. Around 20% of all the gigafactories that are being built or committed in Europe are going into the Nordic region. Well placed there. But as I said, the operating nickel mines that exist are only in Finland. The full value chain already exists. There's 2 nickel smelters in Finland. They're the only nickel smelters in the whole of Europe. So our projects. So we have 2 projects. As I said, the flagship project is our Pulu project. This is a very much a district scale project, both disseminated nickel, near surface mineralisation, and then targeting the high grade massive sulfides, which is similar to the Sakatti deposit, which I can describe in a second. Our second project is a bit of a mouthful. It's called Minikioki 3. Getting used to that one. Don't ask me to spell it, but it's a fantastic project. It's around 15 kilometres away from Sakatti. Sakatti was a discovery made by Anglo American over 10 years ago. Its current resource, which was put out in 2016, is 44 million tonnes and 1.9% copper and 1% nickel. It's substantially bigger than that. They've had 6 rigs operating on that for the last 6 years. Their environmental permit was just granted last year, and we're expecting an update to that resource sometime this year. We're looking for Sakatti-style analogues, and we're in the same geological setting. We have the same geophysical targeting strategy. We have very similar geophysical anomalies as well. And at the moment, what we have is very similar to the Kavitsa-style ore body, which is an open pit mine, also about 150 kilometres away from where we are. That was first started by First Quantum, sold to Boliden, Swedish mining company, for $450 million US. That's a similar grade to our deposit. It's getting to the end of its life. It's certainly it's a very big operation. It's very much a mining precinct in that part of the world. In terms of global scale, this is what our project looks like. This is the mapped ultramafic intrusions of the whole Pulu project, the Mertenvaara Formation, which was mapped by the Geological Survey of Finland. Putting it into perspective, the Hottenvaara project, where we've been drilling down the very bottom of that V formation there, is where we have the resource already. But if you look at the size and scale of this project compared to some other projects around the world, it's massive. We think there's mining camp potential here. We have not only 25,000 metres of drilling at our Hottenvaara licence area, but there's another 6,000 metres of drilling that's been done by both Geological Survey, Anglo American and Onakumpu, all to the north. Overall, we've got 35 kilometres of prospective, continuous prospective strike. The Hottenvaara prospect, as I said, it's only 2 square kilometres of our 240 square kilometre land package. we have dual exploration targets targeting both the high-grade massive sulfides. The benefit those, wherever we drill, we get some very wide intersections of near-surface disseminated nickel mineralisation, and that's what's allowed us to put out that maiden resource, or the updated resource, sorry. Overall, there's 1,700 metres of untested prospect in just the Hottenbarra licence alone. I'll have to skip through that. That's our historical drill results, but the reason why we listed the company. This is the resource growth. As you can see from when we listed, we were pre-IPO, very small resource that had been identified from Otokumpu. Within 6 weeks of listing, we got 280,000 contained nickel tonnes in the resource, and then just in March, we've now tripled that resource based on the drilling that we've done last year. The resource outline here, I won't go into that in detail, but just show the growth to the south, which is, I'll show on this slide, sorry, go back again. To the south is a very large magnetic anomaly which has not been tested yet, and we want to get in there and drill that. Everywhere we drill into that magnetic anomaly, we're getting some large, wide intersections of disseminated. We'd be able to grow that resource pretty quickly. I'll just skip through that. To the east, we did a mag survey across the whole belt in early 23 as well, and we've identified another 9 targets as big as, if not bigger than, the Hottenbarra prospect alone. Right to the very east of us is a 2.6 kilometre magnetic anomaly that's never been drilled, never been tested, another area that we want to get into as soon as we can. This is what the whole mag survey looks like across the belt. It's a very big area. It's going to take a lot of time, and we know that within Hottenbarra licence area itself, we can easily grow that resource based on what we've already been seeing with the drilling from last year. Our plan for this year is we'll continue to look at testing to the south, and that magnetic anomaly that carries on to the south of the project. Further north with the Hottenbarra licence area, which was granted late last year, we've just kicked off a bottom of till sampling program. It's never been tested. There's some magnetic anomalies that have been picked up on the drone survey, but then some soil sampling that was picked up by Anglo American and GTK previously, where they picked up copper, nickel, and some PGE mineralisation as well. So we're doing some early stage test work there to start planning for drilling in the next winter season. Our work programs for this year really focused on planning our targeting and planning for drilling again next winter. As I said, the bottom of till sampling program is underway at the moment. We'll be getting the assays out on that in the next couple of weeks. We're looking at updating our ESG framework, which we released also a few months after first listing. Very important for us, working with the local community and being able to partner with them. Importantly as well, now we're talking to BHP about the future earn-in agreements, who will be able to support us hopefully in the future development of the project across the belt. Our market cap suffered like many others. We listed at 25 cents. We're trading down around 14 cents at the moment, just under 20 million market cap, just under 3 million cash at bank at the end of December. We have a contained resource of 860,000 tonnes on only 5% of our whole land package. So we think we're severely undervalued. There's lots and lots of upside here. We're looking to try and form these partnerships to help develop the projects and really take advantage of the wave of demand that's going to be coming from Europe. That's really our value proposition. It's a very small company at this stage, very big assets in a strategic jurisdiction that's very well supported by the government, well supported by the Critical Minerals Act that's coming, that's now been enacted, and we're looking to try and find partnerships to help develop this and advance it as quickly as possible. That's all. Thank you.